Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Maximum warp. Punch it. Punch it.
Punch it, Bishop!
Punch it.
Punch that shit!
Let's punch it.
Hello, everybody at home, and welcome. This is Punch It, Writing in Star Trek. I'm your co-host, Tristan Riddell, and with me, as always, is...
Charlene Schmidt.
Charlene. We've been having fun, haven't we?
We have been having a lot of fun lately. Our what-ifs and our reconstruction of characters that we know and love, we've had a pretty decent run. But you know what? You know what we need to do?
I think I do know what we need to do, but how about you say it?
Sure. Let's do an episode on The Fly, the wheelhouse that makes this podcast tick.
This was basically this concept, the on the fly, which so much of our stuff is on the fly, like when we find either a plot hole or a character gap or we do a what if story, so much of it is on the fly.
True.
And you guys are listening to it, not live, but you're listening to it live to tape. But this one specifically on the fly is we have no concept, no character, no series, no nothing, no backstory, absolutely nothing to go off of.
Yep, we start from scratch.
It is completely on the fly with the whiteboard swiped clean. And that's what we're going to be doing today. And again, like we have nothing in mind, nothing to go off of. So let's go ahead and get to that today, because we've been getting a lot of positive feedback on our what ifs and our character changes and everything like that. But you need a break. I mean, all things, you need to take a rest on all things.
All good things are great in moderation. So we don't want to exhaust this nice little streak that we've been on. We do need to change it up just a little bit. And also, I think for our creative minds, this exercise is really good for us because we really do start from nothing. And then what you hear is exactly as it goes. I mean, we're at a point now on this podcast where we really don't edit that much. We just do this. A little how the sausage is made, so to speak.
It's true, actually. I was actually just interviewed about the Nerd Party, and I'll give you guys details on that later on. It's for a website publication. But
Cool.
One thing that I was talking about was how Punch It is made versus how my other show, Nerd Nuptial, is made, and how much easier it is to record in person, because like I live with my wife, obviously, and so I can, we can record and we do live to tape, and then boom, intro and outro, and it's done. But you and I are recording, like I'm in the Chicagoland area, you're in the Los Angeles area, and so we've been recording remotely ever since we started this, 7 years ago, so this partnership together.
Since 2012, baby.
But we've been doing it so much that we're almost to live to tape. Like that's pretty much what it is, like that, and what we can do.
Yeah, it's really close. Barring internet difficulties, that's kind of the one thing that we do take out.
Yes,
But-
absolutely. There are certain times when we accidentally interrupt each other, or we're like, "Oh, hey, Char, why are you frozen in the face?" Oh, that's why, because the internet's crap.
Right, yes. And as we record this, it's raining in Los Angeles, heaven forbid, and our infrastructure can't handle any kind of weather whatsoever. So we're taking a calculated risk today.
I used to live, as you know, in Los Angeles for a brief period of time.
Yeah, you need to come back, man.
One of my favorite, I remember, because I didn't quite understand this, is that like I was walking in Los Angeles, which is something people don't do. I was
It's
walking
rare.
and it was barely raining. I'm saying barely raining. I mean, like I was walking down the street and very comfortable, wasn't blinking or rushing from door to door.
Yeah.
It was misting. It's like in the Midwest, you wouldn't even register it as water. And then I saw all these signs on all these business doors that said closed due to the rain.
Yep, that's how Los Angeles works. If there is so much as a drop of rain, everything stops.
I was like, as this Midwestern boy is walking through Los Angeles, I'm just like, what on earth is going on?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock to me at first. Also, the way the highways just come to a standstill, even more than usual, is it's pretty sad and dangerous. And basically, you have one of two choices. You either don't go out, just don't go out. you stay home. It's like a snow day, only it's a rain day. Or you take your chances and you are having, sometimes double the regular commute that you would normally have. And in LA, a commute of an hour one way is not unheard of at all. So it's crazy town.
This got me thinking. Okay, so to bring it back to Star Trek, that's one thing that we don't get a lot of daily life in Star Trek, like daily civilian life. That's something that I've always been interested in, and I know that it wouldn't make a great show, and there's a reason why we don't really see it. And remember when Discovery was coming out, and then they were saying that they were going to be doing other shows and spin-offs and things like that. People are like, "Oh, I would love to see X, Y, and Z," and they're never any good. Those ideas are never any good. They're just like, "Oh, I want to see a Star Trek medical show," and I'm just like, why? And I want to see a Star Trek law show. I was like, it's fiction, it's sci-fi, everything's made up.
Okay, guys, we already have ER. We've had how many incarnations of NCIS and Law and Order?
Goodness.
I mean, those shows exist. We don't need Star Trek spin on that. Now, that said, we do know that the Picard show is coming out late next year. We just got that announcement as we're recording today, and I'm pretty stoked. That probably means trailers next summer at San Diego Comic-Con or even Star Trek Las Vegas. And so, hooray.
That's really not that much time if you think about it, if they stick to it, because you remember how often they pushed off Discovery? I just now remember that.
Yeah. Good point. That's not set in stone. And the hope is if they do end up needing to take more time, that it's worth the wait. I have a feeling it will be. I expect good quality. Patrick Stewart wouldn't sign on for anything. It's not like he needs the money. It's
true. Now, to go back to what I was saying, with civilian daily life in Star Trek, how is commuting wise, say you're living in France and you want to work in San Francisco, you would just beam.
Right.
But that's impractical for everybody. So
or is it? That's okay.
Would it be?
What if we wrote a story about this, about average daily life on Earth? Oh, come on. There's got to be some way we can make this interesting. For a short story, like a little 15-page story, we can outline this. We can do this.
Well, okay, so what if we turn we could turn it on its head. Instead of doing a what if narrative story, what if we talk about what is 24th century life like? What does that look like from our heads and from what we know? Like, you and I both have an encyclopedic knowledge of Star Trek, so what does it look like? So you say maybe it's not impractical, but I think it would be. I mean, we got some in the novels where, I think in the Homecoming novels, where I think Janeway was going out with some friends and they all went to the teleporter hub or whatever, something like that, like the local transportation room and a teleport, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
and,
some sort of public transportation system. It's just beaming.
It's just, something like that. And so that leads me to believe that you have to go to a hub. It's not like everybody's doing site-to-site transport. And I severely doubt they're like the latest, everyone, like the 7-Eleven has a transporter pad or something like that. So there's got to be some sort of...
7-Eleven's in the future.
I say they still exist, but
it's good to know Slurpees have made it.
Do you have cars? Do you have shuttle services? Because in the Kelvin universe, we saw cars and we saw
hover
cars
cars
with wheels, and we saw cars with wheels, and we saw hover cars, and we saw shuttles. But that's the Kelvin universe. I want to stay out of that. So
okay.
I don't want to stick to what we've seen in the Prime universe, mainly the 24th century. So what do you think it's like? Like, how do people get from where they're going? Like, if they live locally.
I think it's a little mix, of a lot of things. I think there are hover cars. There are still some cars on wheels for probably a nostalgic factor more than anything. But also, if you've got cars in the air and you've got cars on the ground, you're utilizing both forms of transport. Mm-hmm. Maybe people can get around a little more easily. And maybe if, say, on the ground, if you have a shorter trip that takes 5 minutes, that's just as fast as going in the air. But if you go in the air, maybe you can go longer distances in a quicker time than you can on the ground. The difference between driving and flying, essentially. And I don't know, maybe there's still things like a subway system that you've got underground systems, in major cities. But then you've got the public transport hubs for people who have really long commutes, people going from Mexico City over to Paris or to Stockholm or whatever. And yeah, I think it's a variety of things. It's not any one thing. They're not narrowed down to just beaming. Also, shuttle services.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm wondering about is like, do people have personal transportation anymore? Like, do they have a car, or do they is there just like Uber of the future where you just call a car and it comes and it takes you wherever it takes you to the hub?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, is it the thing where like, I don't know, do only the elites who need personal shuttles have them? But it's not like affordability is the issue. It's just a matter of wanting.
See, that's what I think. That's another thing, is that we're dealing with a society that no longer has elites. So it
That's
really
true.
the elites, quote unquote, would really be like
high. I don't know. It wouldn't necessarily be
ranking
due to wealth. It would be maybe power and necessity. So like Admiral Paris might have a personal shuttle, but your average person who, I don't know, is a biologist, maybe not. Maybe they have to use the public transport hub. But then there's still inequality there. That's not Star Trek?
Well, I think it's not necessarily inequality. It would be necessity for the job. Like if you're a government official or if you're working with Starfleet or something like that, maybe it's not a quote unquote personal shuttle, but you have access to things more often than you would if you were just the average citizen. Like Grandpa Sisko, he's not going to have access to a Starfleet shuttle to take him where he needs to go, and he's not going to have access to site transporting. But if Admiral Paris clicks on his communicator and says, "I need to get to Paris now," so, and then he's going to get that site-to-site transport because he's an admiral in Starfleet. But
True.
Joe Schmo contacts somebody and says like, "Hey, I need to get to Zimbabwe in like 10 seconds." They're going to say, "Go screw," then,
Right. Or I don't know, does Sisko have his own personal shuttle that isn't quite that instantaneous, but he has access to it whenever he wants, sort of like how most of us have our own car?
I think I choose to believe that it's a little bit different. Again, like I know we saw a lot of this in the Kelvin universe, but I'm ignoring it because we never really saw it. I love like when Uber and Lyft came out, I was all on board. I was like, this is fantastic. This is the future. This is amazing. Because I hate taxis, but I love Uber because everything's done through the app. I don't have to worry about tipping because it's all incorporated into the app. I click where I want to go. Somebody comes by, picks me up, and then drops me off. And then I wave if I like them and then walk away. And I feel like because there's no longer the driving, like because as Picard said, is that the accumulation of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. I feel like the need for that kind of personal property isn't really necessary if you have a ride available to you. And also, by this time, we would have drones. By the 24th century, drones would be absolutely perfected. So if you needed to get to a transport hub and you don't feel the need to own a car, then you call one, it comes and pick you up and takes you to a hub, or it's like a shuttle service where multiple people get picked up and you go to the hub or something like that. Because already they're kind of dealing with that kind of thing, testing that kind of thing. Like they want to make personal helicopters a thing. Where like you have a helicopter pilot, but it's a smaller helicopter, and it can hold like 8 people. And you all go to the top, like you go to a skyscraper or something like that, and then, or like to the tallest building in your area, and you all meet there at the same time, and then they take you downtown. Like if you live in the suburbs, you have this helicopter ride that takes you to downtown, and so it's not, you don't have to own a helicopter. You just pay a fare, and so they make it economical. So if we're already dealing with this kind of thing happening in the next 10, 15 years, then by the 24th century, it's got to be even more simplified than that.
Right. You would think and you would hope. Yeah, okay.
you would think and you would hope, exactly.
Yeah, let's say you're not close to a beaming station or what have you. You call for a shuttle, something dispatches, and it's on its way, and there it be, and you pilot it wherever the heck you want.
And also think about 911 in the future.
Yeah.
Like 911, like I've been phasered. My foot's fallen off. They say, okay, we'll beam you to the operating room right now.
Right. Yeah. You don't even have to dispatch paramedics. You can go to them. And in that instance, I would say a site-to-site beam is necessary.
Right. And so no matter who you are, whether you're Admiral Paris or Joe Schmo, like you're going to get that site-to-site transport.
Right. Right. Okay, then that's cool. I want to live in that future.
Yeah, exactly. And free healthcare.
Oh my God, concept. Yes, yes. Okay, now that is an amazing idea right there. That is Star Trek at its finest, knowing that that's a thing.
So besides transportation.
Yeah, let's talk about, well, housing. Let's talk about that. What does that look like?
How does housing work? How does that look like? Because,
here's a question. Do we know how many people live on Earth in the 24th century?
9 billion.
9 billion. Okay, so it's roughly about the same amount as there are on Earth right now.
Well, there's 7 billion right now.
I thought we surpassed that.
Oh,
I could be
God,
wrong.
did we?
Oh, I mean, I don't actually know, and I won't look it up right now, but I had a feeling that we surpassed that. I don't know. I just had this weird feeling that we already hit 9 billion.
We are at 7.7 billion right now.
Oh, okay. Well, and that's already too many. So we're already facing certain challenges with population on Earth right now at 7 billion. Mm-hmm. So 9 billion. We've got 2 billion more people on Earth. This tells me a couple of things. We probably need to start building upward, especially in major cities, assuming that major cities are still hubs on planet Earth, which it seems like they are. San Francisco is still San Francisco and what have you.
Yeah.
So you got to build upward because the sprawl, I mean, it doesn't matter as much with transporting and what have you, but it does strike me that that would be the way to go. So do a lot more people live in things like apartments?
I think with 1.5 billion more, I know this sounds like a ridiculous statement, but in terms of the Earth, that is not that much more than what we're dealing with now. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's really not. Because think about when we were little, it was closer to what, 5 billion or something like that?
Yeah. Well, and in the 24th century, things like pollution and resource management are very different.
Right. We won't have to worry about garbage as much. We won't have to worry about resources as
like
much.
Like water distribution, clean water.
Renewable energy or anything like that. And so that's the thing is that like take some of the deserts in Africa and the Middle East and even in Mexico or the Western United States, those areas would become more livable and more serviceable towards humans because we've been able to become masters of our own environment in a way that we're not now. Like if we can terraform Mars, we can add greenhouses to the Sudan. Like we can do that in the 24th century. So I feel like we'll be able to. I feel like you'll definitely go up a little bit, like you said, but I feel like we would go out a little bit more too, like in the areas that are more inhospitable right now. Like we would be able to take a section of the Sahara and figure out how to make that livable.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, it would be a much more stable environment than things are now and much more controlled.
Yes, much more controlled because we have the weather net and everything like that, which we know is a thing. And also because we have, I mean, just because there's 9 billion entities, 9 billion souls on Earth doesn't mean they're all human. And
True.
It does mean that there could be billions and billions and billions and billions more elsewhere.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We know humans are all over the galaxy now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like that is like a good number. I feel like the reason I really appreciated that in First Contact when we got that number, like when actually, I guess we can't necessarily go by that number because in First Contact, when Data said 9 billion, he was talking about a Borg population in an alternate future.
Oh, okay. Here's the weird thing is I thought Picard said that, but no, you are right. And that was the altered scenario of what would happen if the Borg took over. Oh, shoot. No, we can't use that.
I for lack of a better number, let's use that.
Yeah. You know what this also tells us, assuming that this is a correct number, regardless of the timeline, is that things have leveled off in terms of human population growth. Things did have to reach a certain level of sustainability, which is not a bad thing. I mean, the human race is not going extinct with 9 billion people. It's just not. And especially with advances in medical care, people are living a good quality of life. It's not like a plague is going to wipe us out.
No, and unless this Indie came by, that's pretty much
sure, or a Borg invasion. I mean, there's certainly possibilities here, but the point being, humans are doing very well. And there's, I think, maybe less of a need to just, explosively reproduce because people aren't dying off before they're 30.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because when Data said approximately 9 billion, like that's what I was thinking. I was just like, oh, there should be a lot. Like if trends continue, there should be a lot more by the 24th century. But birth control is much easier.
Provided you use it, yes.
Provided you use it, unlike Benjamin.
Yeah. You can't count on men for anything. Sorry, Tristan.
That's all right. And also, like food is no longer an issue, so everybody's fed, and people can just go out and go to colonies. Aliens come in, so it feels like we found an equilibrium. So I'm really glad that you talked about that.
Yeah, we can go off and be artists and scientists and. that old joke that we have where people can go live their best life.
And so because of that, I felt like we don't really have to worry about overpopulation. We won't have to worry about things going up or out. It's just like we can work with the space that we have.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of like the living scenario is, and I feel like living in cities would go down, honestly.
You think so? You think people want more space then?
I don't even think it's necessarily because they want more space. It's because so many people move to the cities for work.
True, and that's no longer an issue.
Yeah, exactly. Like I live in the burbs and I commute to Chicago for work and it takes me an hour sometimes longer.
I don't know how you deal with that.
I listen to a lot of stuff. But because of that, like I would take like the super ultra fast rail that really only takes like 5 or 10 minutes to get downtown.
Right.
Or if I could take a transporter hub, given like if that was available to me. So like anyway, like my commute would not be an hour anymore. And so I would
Definitely not.
I wouldn't even have to live in the burbs. Like I could live back home, like where I grew up if I wanted to, and work in Chicago.
Which is like what, 2 hours away?
It's like about 2.5 to 3 hours away. Yeah. And so I'd be able to do that, or I'd be able to like I'd be able to be next door neighbors to you and work in Brazil if I wanted to, like there's no limit.
That's true. That's so very true. Yeah. So then we need to discuss maybe the logistics of why cities are still cities. You know what I mean? Where it's not just this endless thing of sprawl. Cities are still hubs, I guess, because of just the convenience of the commerce being there in the first place. Because, I mean, even with things like the internet, it doesn't matter so much like where you are if people want to order, say, a product out of my store. The fact that I'm in Los Angeles doesn't matter to somebody in, I don't know, Missouri, because I can give them 3-day shipping. Now, they have to pay for it, but it's not where I'm limited just to where I live, if that makes sense.
It
so
does.
Why do cities need to be cities?
I think that's the thing, is that like it's I think the importance of the city goes down, except for the cultural experience or the people who want that experience of having lots of people around them.
That's a good point, because we know in the future New Orleans is still New Orleans.
And San Francisco is still San Francisco, and Paris is still Paris. I mean, we
so
know
it's a
and
cultural
London
tradition.
is still London. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and there are going to always be people who want to be surrounded by millions of other people. They want the busy city life. They want the hustle and the bustle. Whereas there's going to be people who want to live way out in the boonies, Picard's Vineyard, and live a simpler, quieter life where your next neighbor is 5 miles away.
That's my dream. That's the dream for me, is to have a house in the middle of nowhere, but still have access to everything that I want to have access to.
See, now I kind of played both sides against the middle. I'm in the suburbs of LA, but I've got proximity to the action in the big city if I want it, but I'm not in the middle of it. I'm not going to get bombarded by constant noise and the constant bombardment of the intensity that is living in a city. I have my nice quiet townhome in the suburbs, so I feel like I get the best of both worlds in that way. But I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. I lived in Wyoming, and even though I was in a city there, that was too much for me.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, is that you can live in the middle of nowhere and still have downtown shopping at your fingertips. And you wouldn't have to trek 10 miles to the nearest grocery store. Like you would have the shuttle service, you would have the transporting it if you need it and everything like that. Now, okay, I wanted to look up one of my favorite quotes, and I feel like the 24th century is a great encapsulation of this and an environmental message, because like we were talking about how we no longer have to worry about world hunger, we don't have to worry about drought, we don't have to worry about war, disease, and famine. And obviously we're talking about humans when we're dealing with that, because we don't want to wipe ourselves out, but at the same time we don't want to wipe out the environment. Right. And this is my favorite David Attenborough quote. And the reason why I'm thinking about this is because I feel like maybe by the 21st century we will get this right. So here's his quote, David Attenborough. Using his burgeoning intelligence, this most successful of all mammals has exploited the environment to produce food for an ever-increasing population. Instead of controlling the environment for the benefit of the population, perhaps it's time we control the population to allow the survival of the environment.
It's absolutely true. This reminds me of a bit that George Carlin did on one of his HBO specials where he talked about the planet. People say save the planet. No. The planet is going to be fine. The people are the ones that are going to go extinct because we're killing off ourselves. We're not killing off the planet. The planet will be fine. It might take millions of years, but after a while, once the human race is gone, if it ever goes out, we're just going to be a little footnote in the history of the Earth, much like the dinosaurs. The planet will be fine. We are the ones that are going away.
I watched a movie last night that was... Have you ever heard of the movie Downsizing?
No.
It's a movie with Matt Damon where
Damon. Sorry,
Matt Damon. Where technology exists where you can get shrunk to 5 inches tall. And so people are doing it because if you have, like, say, $100,000, that would be an equivalent of $12 million as a miniature person.
Okay.
And so people are doing that, and they have these little tiny communities and everything like that. And they marketed it as a comedy, like, oh, look at this comedy with a wacky premise. That's how the movie was for like the first 20 minutes. And then after that, it was a serious drama about environmentalism. And I'm just like, what the hell am I watching? And it was not a good movie, but the message was good.
Dang.
For the most part. There was a lot wrong with it. But regardless, there was one quote that I really loved from it. And like they were dealing with the extinction of the human race. And one guy was saying 200,000 years for humans. That's ridiculous. We'll barely be a footnote in history. Even the alligator has been around for 200 million years.
Yep. They're going to live on. Cockroaches will live on, and the ants forever.
So with Star Trek, since we don't have to worry about that anymore, you and I have actually talked about this at length. I don't know if we've done it on Punch It, but we've done it on To the Journey, our previous Star Trek show, where we talked about the beauty of choosing a career without having to worry about money.
Yes. Again, people can be artists, scientists, whatever they choose to be. And because they don't have to make money, they can cultivate that however they want. They can go at their pace. They can be as good as they want to be. It's like everybody has the chance to be the master at whatever they choose to be.
I feel like there's always that question of, well, what about the lazy people? What about the people who don't want to work?
There's always going to be a section of the population that's like that. They want to be lowlives. They just want to take and not give back. And it's a very anti-Starfleet ideal, but that is human nature.
Well, there's the rub, is that Star Trek constantly talks about how human nature has changed. We have evolved as a society. And but I'm with you. Big but. Is that there's still evil people. There's still murderers. There's still, like we still see humans in the future who are obsessed with money. Like we see people who try to rob the Enterprise who are humans. Yeah. And not just like humanoid aliens, but humans. And so the headcanon that I have is that they grow up on Earth and they're just like, I can't stand these namby-pambies humans anymore. Like, I want to live a life of luxury. I don't want to work. I don't want to do any of this BS. I am out of Earth. And that is a genuine option for you.
Yes.
In the
Yes, it
24th
is.
century. If you don't like Earth, you can leave at no cost to you.
Right. You can go pretty much anywhere. Do whatever you want. Also, another faction of people we want to consider are people who are going to think that this lifestyle is too soft. They believe in survivalism and the forcing of evolution through struggle. I mean, those are probably the people who go off and do like the Amish colonies like we see a lot in Star Trek where they cultivate the land and they live hard and that's fine. But again, they have that option to do that. It's too secure. It's too cushy for them.
Yeah, I think that's they can leave or they can get like a plot of land. Maybe they can petition for it and say like, I want to live off the grid here. Leave me alone. I won't take any of your resources. You won't have to worry about me. Maybe that's an option for people. And the thing with me is that, like, and as we've talked about this before, is that I would work. I would absolutely work if I wasn't getting paid. I would absolutely 100% work if I wasn't getting paid, if my needs were being met. And I feel like millennials, our generation, I think you're just at the tip of it, right? Like you're
I'm on the
you're an
very
elder millennial.
edge. Yeah, I am an old millennial. Yes, I am.
No, elder millennial.
That
It's
sounds
much
so
more-
much better. Thanks.
I think it sounds better. And so you're an elder millennial. I'm smack dab in the middle of it. And I believe that our generation, I know people are going to roll their eyes so freaking hard, but I believe that our generation is the first generation to really, truly understand this, where they're just like, yeah, we would totally do what we love if we didn't have to worry about a paycheck.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think we see that with people advocating for things like universal basic income.
And I know this is not a political podcast, and we're not taking any kind of science. We're not talking about socialism. We're not talking about communism. Well, I mean, in a sense we are, but we're not talking about like the benefits of socialism or the benefits of communism, because we all know that the negative sides of that, of course.
Yes,
but
the
what
point
we're
being-
talking about, the point being is that this generation, the millennial generation and younger, understand that. And it's not out of laziness. It's, I don't want a mansion. I don't want 19 cars. I live in an area where I can't even afford a 3-bedroom house because of taxes.
Right. Or just simply the unaffordability of housing in general. A lot of people in our generation, they're not having children. They're not buying houses because they can barely feed themselves. You know, we're talking like basic struggles. And so I think out of that, our generation is the first to advocate for a more Star Trek-like future where, as the most educated generation, college-educated generation that has ever existed in this country, in the United States, we're saying if we had the freedom like people do on Star Trek, things would be very different. But we are the first generation that's not better off financially than our predecessors,
before it.
and we're feeling it hardcore.
I think that's why a lot of people, and I think that a big portion of why Star Trek is so popular with our generation is because, one, we were raised on it. Like we were, like we were in our teenage years during the 90s, our formative years.
Yep.
And so the golden age of Trek was when we were in our own age of coming of age. And so today we're feeling the effects of anti-Trek hard.
Right.
And so we retreat to Star Trek and to the 24th century. And of course, you raise us on the positive aspects of the 21st century. We grow up to adults and we want more of that. And you are surprised.
Right? You're nobody should be shocked that we want this to be real. Star Trek, it is our ideal, and we want to create that world. I hope our generation and those that come after us do.
I do too. I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, yes, there's negatives to Gene Roddenberry's vision. Yes, there's negatives to the perceived aspects of the 21st century. No one is arguing that. Don't add us. Don't write us.
Not about that anyway.
Not about that specifically, but we get it, okay? We get it. But like the positives of the 24th century, hell yes, I want that, because I would have a medium-sized house that serviced my needs for my wife and my child and hopefully another child. And I would still work, whether that was in the video industry or my wife and I would run a theater or something like that. And there would no longer be any of this crazy comment about how, well, you're not really contributing to the economy, so you're worthless. Well, screw you. I'm contributing to society.
Right. Yeah. I know about this dream that you and your wife have of running a theater. And I honestly think in the 24th century, that is exactly what you would be doing, because financially, you wouldn't have to worry about providing for your family. You could be just in pursuit of the arts.
And it makes you wonder, how do you get that space? Like, say my wife and I were in the 24th century. We had a house. We're educated. We have a child. Do you requisition? Like, what do you requisition? Like, how does that happen? Like, oh, we want to open a theater. Well, you don't need to go to a bank to get a loan. So
No.
do you go to the city board and say, I'd like to open a theater? And they're like, sure, I guess, if you have a good reason, or if you have a business plan,
Something.
or you have an idea of
Yeah.
how it work, and we can allot this space for you. And if not enough people visit your building, does it get taken away? Like, how does that work? That's so, like...
Or does it need to be connected to some sort of preservational purpose? Like, it's an old theater and you guys are running it and you're keeping it going by putting new productions out there, or something to that effect. I don't know.
It's really, really fascinating, because there's got to be some sort of intrigue, because, like, say I run a theater and I put on horrible shows and nobody likes them. And so we haven't had a visitor to the theater in 6 months or a year. Does the
Besides
city
me.
come in and say, besides you, obviously, does the city come in and say, okay, we're going to take the theater away because no one's using it, and we're not just going to let you have all that space?
But if space is not an issue, does it matter?
But then if space in a city is an issue,
Right.
if you're downtown, I mean, space is going to be an issue, because they can't just give everybody everything. And that's the thing, is that, like, even if I didn't want it for financial means, like, I'm not running a theater to get rich. Like,
no,
I'm obviously...
you're there for the arts. Okay, so here's what we do is I run a coffee shop in your theater that makes coffee the old-fashioned way with manual labor and machines and what have you. It's not that replicated crap. And Captain Janeway, whenever she's on Earth, she's going to be my biggest customer. We're going to do fine.
I imagine we would, and I would love that scenario. Honest to God, I would love that scenario.
It would be
But
amazing.
it just makes you wonder, like, how does that work? And I don't have an answer.
No, I really don't either. I'm drawing a blank as well, just because of the logistics that space is not an issue. Business is not necessarily an issue. What is the issue? Is it interest? And if it's not, then what? I mean, running through this again and again, I have no answers.
Because I feel like you would still need a city planner, because, like, say that it was your dream to open up at McDonald's, in your town.
Oh, no.
And then that's like 6 other people's dream. They're not going to give 6 McDonald's on Main Street. The city planner's not going to allow that. So how does that work?
So what you're saying is McDonald's is going to go away. Better food for everybody. That's a really good question. This is something I would love to know the input of our listeners. How do you guys see this? Do you have answers for us? Because I think we've kind of hit a roadblock here. How exactly do you envision this working? Is it not too terribly different from what we experience in our world? Or is there something that we're missing that we're just not thinking of?
Yeah, and, like, I'm sure that there are plenty of educated economists out there who
City
listen
planners?
to our show, or city planners, or people who have worked in architecture or, development or anything like that. I'm sure that we have some listeners like that. So, like, if you are one of those people and you have some insight how it could potentially work, let us know.
Please do.
If any of this episode pissed you off and you feel like writing in, I don't care. I'm not going to read it, so don't even bother.
Mean. I'll read it. I might not reply if you're really mean, but, constructive criticism is always welcome. How can people reach us, Tristan?
They can reach us by going to thenerdparty.com/contact, selecting Punch It from the drop-down menu. You can fill out the form, and it'll send us an email. You can reach us through social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter just by going to thenerdparty.com. All of that's on there. You can find me personally on Twitter at @TheInsaneRobin.
And you can find me at Oh the Profanity.
Now, we went a little outside of our wheelhouse this week because
Yeah.
normally we talk about writing in Star Trek, but this one, you know what, this was just a conversation we wanted to have, that we needed to have. So we talked about life in the 24th century, but we will return to writing next week, and we will punch it.
Ready for warp, sir.
Let's punch it.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.